Hello, everyone. Welcome to Facebook Live. Good morning, good afternoon. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm Erin, and welcome to our Sewing Workshop Facebook Live. So we have myself, Erin, and then we have Linda. She just loved that camera so much, so she is off camera, behind the camera today.
Hello there, but I'm mic'd, so
yes,
I can talk and harass you and interrupt, and I'm technologically challenged.
Linda's trying to find.
I'm trying to find your questions on my iPad, and it's not happening. So,
would you like me to step off camera and help out a second?
Yes.
Okay, I can do that.
Exactly.
Or I can talk to you guys as I look on this fancy iPad here to make sure we got the video up and going. So there it is.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Well, there's a reason I'm off camera and have been the last couple of weeks. I have a big old ridiculous bandage on my nose, and I just didn't want anybody to have to look at it for an hour. So hopefully by next week I'll be bandageless and back. But at any rate, it's nice to have Erin in front of the camera anyway. She does a great job. So we're going to kind of chit-chat together and have some fun. So.
We are, and so today we are celebrating International Women's Day.
Exactly.
Which is fantastic. You had a few great thoughts, Linda, about the sewing workshop.
Well, that's right. I didn't realize it was International Women's Day until something popped up on the computer this morning.
All the social media told you.
Exactly. And so I looked up the actual website, and there are lots of things that we are celebrating today, but one of them is that it's a goal of today to take a look at businesses that have built workplaces where women thrive. And I got to thinking, well, I said to Erin, I said, I don't know if we thrive, but we certainly operate.
I say thrive, that's a good word.
Yeah, it is a pretty good word. We have a great staff, but we have 5 people who are working here in Topeka. And then we have 2 remotely, and all 7 of them are women. Right. And then we have some people who are really integral to our process, our photographer, our grader, yes. Our fashion illustrator, and they are women.
Right.
And, we just have always operated that way. Not that we wouldn't include a man, but I don't know, I've just never found a man that has the skill sets that we need here. So that's... Anyway, so we're celebrating ourselves today. But you are doing something kind of special today for yourself.
I am. So I decided, I think it's really important to take care of us, take care of myself. I think that's really important as a female, as a mother, as a working female. So I think that, anybody and everybody should take care of themselves. And so one of the things, there's a local company, a local salon and cafe in town called Onyx. Linda actually gets her hair cut there. And but they also have amazing juices and kombucha and vegan and gluten-free treats. Just a great place. And so they were offering 1, 2, and 3 day cleanses. And I've done this before. It rids your body of toxins, and it feels really good. And so I decided to sign up for the 1 day cleanse. And so you get 6 juices plus a few wellness shots. And this is one of them, the
shots
immunity.
Meaning yes, liquid.
Liquid.
Not needles.
Right. And and non-alcoholic as well.
Yeah, exactly.
In lots of different ways. But no, wellness shots. And juices that you're supposed to drink throughout the day to rid your body of toxins. This is the Immunity Blaster. It has carrot, red apple, orange, ginger, and turmeric. And they're delicious and good for you. So I think it'll be a good experience.
Yeah, you can do it for 1 day, you can do it for 3 days. But
right.
I'm going to be interested to hear how your day went when
how I feel afterwards.
Get back. Yeah, I'm headed out to North Carolina today to teach at Mulberry Silks for 3 days. So I will talk to you when I get back about your experience.
Sounds good. And also, we were talking about Onyx this morning, and it brought to light there's a kombucha company that they sell at Onyx, and it's actually, in light of International Women's Day, it's actually a perfect company to feature because Morning Light Kombucha is actually out of Hoyt, Kansas, which is very close to here. And it is a female Native American run kombucha company, and they make amazing kombucha, and they sell it at Onyx. So just some really great local companies around here that we like to support.
I can't find it now, but there was a comment that while you're doing a juice cleanse, somebody else had a really nice glazed donut. Hey, celebrate however you want to.
Exactly. Actually, at Onyx, they have delicious donuts. So, you can just...
Yeah, they do. And your kind of donuts, the kind of donuts you actually can eat, I think.
Right.
All right.
So it'll be a good day. So today, we're talking about sheer, gauzy, lightweight, luxurious fabrics. We tend to use these fabrics in everything from pants to jackets to shirts, tops, and so you can really have fun with these sheer, boldly printed, floral fabrics. So a couple of the patterns that we have started to use with these fabrics are, let's see, the Ikina. So the Ikina Two Jacket, this has had a couple different versions of this pattern. We just came out with this new version of the Ikina 2 last year.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, that one is made from the original pattern.
That's true.
Just lengthened. And the old pattern used to have a split up the side with a sort of a flange, but we just sewed that up. Mm-hmm. And the band around the neck and down the front was cut on the bias. Well, that's a couple of things that we've eliminated in the new pattern. So you actually have on the newest version of it.
Right, I do. So this is the length of the pattern?
Yes, I believe it is. I mean, it might be 1 inch off or something because it was one of the first ones we made, but I think it's essentially the right thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it has the side seam slit there. It has a pocket. This was a project from the So Confident series last year, where we were working with different fabrics each month, or different patterns each month, and this was one of the months. And so this was actually one of the kits that we had available then, and we do still have some of this fabric and some of these kits available.
Right. A couple of the things that you learned in that class was how to make the baby piping that separates the now cut on the straight of grain band, and how to match patterns, like the pockets are completely lined up pattern-wise, and how to make these beautiful mitered corners for the hems. I think they're mitered, as I recall.
Yes.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Indeed. So, and we still have some of that fabric. Did you say that? You may have said that.
Right. We do have kits in this fabric available.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to me, the one that you're holding up, which is the original, that's made out of a what's called a devaré, which is a burnout silk chiffon, and that can happen because it's made out of silk and something else. It's the natural fiber that gets sort of burned away in a process. So you get some sheer and some not so sheer. But I always looked at this as something that you could wear either for lounge at home or great for a cruise or beach sort of thing, vacation type garment. I think it would be really fun. But I think I do wear a robe at home, and I think my robes get a little not so great. But if I would step it up and really wear a pretty robe, I would feel better about myself, I think, when I put on my robe. But I love this. So the neck binding, or the neckband on this one, is made in China silk. But you can see the bias. Bias is a little bit tricky to work with, and so that's why we eliminated it, because it does want to kind of torque, and I never liked how that really looked. So the idea of doing it on the bias was so that it would fit a little bit more closely around the neck.
Right.
But the one you have on does just fine cut on the straight of grain. So there's no reason to really do that.
Right, and one thing to point out about this garment is the hem that was used. A baby hem was used.
Right, tiny little baby hem, which we'll talk about it a little bit briefly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the Ikina 2. Another So Confident project from last year, the panel pant. So this was done, let's just check out the hem here. No, that's a double fold hem, but it's pretty wide actually. But this was a lined pant. This is a digital pattern that we have, the panel pants, and this was also a pattern that came back from an original printed pattern that we had years ago. And this is a crinkle Georgette, right?
Right.
And then it's lined with a silk Georgette.
Basically, the difference between the chiffon and Georgette is that chiffon is smooth and Georgette is crimped. And that's just really the only difference. They have very similar properties in terms of weight and look, and they sew about the same, but they have a definite difference in feel from smooth to more textured. Mm-hmm. I love a couple of elements about this panel pant. It has an interesting waistband. It has 3 casings.
Let me see if we can get a shot of it.
3
I'm not sure if
casings.
you can see that.
It's kind of hard to see, but the top casing has a 1/4-inch elastic in it. The bottom casing has a 1/4-inch elastic in it, and there's no elastic in the center casing. So it makes a really comfortable waistband. It kind of scrunches and just kind of falls where it needs to fall on your body.
It's very soft.
We did an interesting hem technique, I believe, on the lining, I think.
Right. So with the lining, it's a thin lining, which is great, which feels good, but we serged the hem just to make it easier.
Right.
Just less fuss in working with the fabric, and we also did that with the seams too.
Right, and you see that in ready-to-wear. That's not a homemade look. That is something you see in really high-end ready-to-wear. So a 3-thread serge using some nice smooth serger thread like Isacord. You could even use silk thread in your serger, or you could use some 2-ply silk or 2-ply cotton thread, which is lighter weight than the 3-ply that we normally use. So something just lightweight, so it doesn't form a big bead at the bottom. It's not a roll hem. It's just a nice, narrow, traditional 3-thread finish.
Mm-hmm. And the thing I love about these, so the panel pant, it's a pretty full pant.
Right.
But I think that's what's great about these gauzy sheer fabrics is you can use those in these fuller pants, and it drapes, still extremely flattering.
Right.
And then you can also use some of these, sheer fabrics that you have and may not exactly know how to work with them or what patterns to use.
One of the things you have to watch on the fitting of the panel pants is that the back is through the hips, both the back and the front, pretty traditional fit. They may look like they're really oversized, but they're not terribly oversized in the body, so to speak. And then they have this interesting fuller shape in the legs.
As you go down, right?
Right. So it's not like you can make a smaller size in this because you're looking at it thinking it's oversized. It's not like that.
Right.
So be careful if you're interested in this pant. I think this is a really cool pant. This is a copy of a Japanese gardener's pant because the original panel pant had a knee patch, which I do think we kept in this version as well. I don't know that particular one has it. But a Japanese gardener pant would have a padded portion at the knee, and so you could kneel in the garden. I have to tell a story about this to make you stand there one more time. Well, Martha Stewart came to Topeka to do a presentation, and she and I were visiting about pattern collections, and I said, well, she was talking about her favorite gardening shoes. And I said, well, how about gardening pants? And she said, oh, I'd be interested in that. So I sent her the pattern. And I have no idea what she did with it, probably threw it in the trash, but nevertheless, she was pretty interested in the idea of Japanese gardening pants. So that's my claim to fame. I talked to Martha Stewart one time.
That's pretty amazing.
I know.
So, panel pant.
Yep.
The next pattern is one that I think this is a Madrid, and I feel like it gets overlooked.
Right.
It's a very unique shape. I think it's just beautiful. It has, the front is divided into 3 sections with this angled front that's buttoned, and then it has this nice drapey collar to it. It's a pattern that you can make in a lot of different fabrics. So you can make it in these sheers. You can make it we've made it in printed linen. You can do sweater knits. I mean, so the variety of what you can choose to make the Madrid there's a lot of different options. So there is an angled seam in the back as well. Yeah, but this is definitely a pattern that I think everyone should have, just as that fun. Because when you put it on, it seems classic, but it has
it's a little bit
twist.
quirky. What I like about it is it has a little bit of an oversized body to it, but the sleeves are tapered, and that's to me is good when you have slightly oversized garments. When you have a fuller sleeve, then it becomes too overwhelming. One of the things we did on this one is we brought the hems to the outside in the front.
Let me see if you can see it.
On one side, and then the serging is actually a feature.
Can you see that?
A little bit closer, maybe. There you go, put your hand behind it. Yes, so the top edge of that is a 3-thread serge in a darker color so you can actually see it. And then the edge of the diagonal band is also serged along the front.
Right here,
Right,
and then in the back too.
Yes, so it's a little bit of a combo of deconstruction and traditional construction. But I don't remember, I did make this myself, and I don't quite remember where I got this idea. I probably saw something, some inspirational garment someplace. I never have a new idea of my own, so I'm always looking at things on the internet and magazines and so forth, and seeing and I'm always looking at details. So this is one of my favorite garments. I wear this over a longer t-shirt, like an ET that's lengthened, or a swing tee or something, so that you see another color and fabric coming out from under those diagonal lines and so forth. So.
And on this one, didn't you lengthen?
I did. I lengthened that right side at least an inch, just to give a little more coverage over the tummy area. For me, that's something I do to this garment.
Right, and then you can also get that length, even if you didn't lengthen this side, you could get that length from that underlayer.
Right,
and then
exactly.
It is, a little bit longer in the back as well.
Yep. So that's the Madrid.
And this comes with a pant.
Yes, it comes with a slim pant with lots of seams and a center front zipper. It's a great pant.
So this is another, I think we're just pulling out all these great patterns that we had in the past and bringing them back, because fashion's always evolving and coming back, and I think that's really fascinating. So this is the Crossroads jacket in its original form and its original pattern, with the 4 panels in the front, pockets in the front, same panels in the back. It has a side seam opening here, side seam slit. And the thing I love about some of these details is a lot of them are in the seams. So the buttons, the buttonholes are in the seam of the panels, and same with the pockets. And so it's a great jacket. It has this extra detail here at the collar. It's curved on one side and then straight on the other.
We have this in the archives in a lot of different fabrics. We have it in, obviously, this linen. We have some silk ones, heavier weight wool ones. It can be almost a coat. Well, in fact, last week or maybe the week before, we showed a long wool coat.
Right.
So it can be a lot of things. But we have one in chiffon.
We do.
Or Georgette. I'm not sure which it is.
Georgette.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite Crossroads. And so this is a cropped sheer version of it, and this just uses the first 3 panels.
Yep, the top 3 panels, you just simply take the pattern pieces and tape them together so that you can cut it all in one. You don't even have to, it's a no-brainer. Right, it's really fun. This one does use traditional buttonholes at the center front. I love these buttons. These are so great. Those are vintage buttons. Those are Bakelite buttons.
I love those.
Somewhere in the collection of.
Goes perfect with the all the the plaid, the cubes, and orange and red and purple and green. These are your colors. These are perfect.
There's a question real quick on this linen one. Is the sleeve color the same as the top band? No, the sleeve color is the same as the third band. Yeah.
Right, it goes from kind of a creamy ivory to actually the second one is a stripe, a linen stripe, and then it just gets darker and darker as it gets down to the hem.
Yeah.
But it's so subtle, I think that's what makes it really fantastic. It's a subtle change in color.
Yeah. But who could have imagined that in a chiffon? Right. Kathy made that, I think, or maybe I made it. I don't remember. But Kathy will say I made it, and I think Kathy made it. We get mixed up like that.
You both have made so many garments.
And then we have one on the dress form. That is also in a Georgette.
Bring this.
And this is another pattern that, it's interesting that you know, I hadn't thought about this, but we've shown 3 patterns in this kind of fabric that are patterns that we've brought back.
Right, I know in talking, I didn't realize it, and then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Every single one I bring on here, I realized that it was one of the, you know, maybe original 10 or, I don't know, maybe I'm off on that number, but some...
Well, probably not the original 10, but not far from that. The thing that happens here is that these are fabrics that either you're shopping online or you're going to a store and you see these kinds of fabrics and you think, well, I'm not going anywhere fancy. Mm-hmm. I'm not dressing up. I'm not going to the ball. And so you just walk by them. But they are some of the most beautiful fabrics that you will find in a fabric store. They have the most beautiful prints. And so we've tried to bring these fabrics into being able to wear them every day and not just for dress up. That's not for good, as I used to say.
Right,
so,
exactly. I say wear it whenever you want to.
Right.
To the grocery store, to the office, to anywhere. And they're comfortable. I think when they're lightweight like this, I think they're very soft. Mm-hmm. And they drape beautifully, very comfortable. So this is the Coco Blouse. And this is a great top. I love this. So this has a full sleeve, but again in this drapey, you know, sheer fabric. It just really drapes down. It's beautiful. Has a front V-neck band on it. It has a side seam zipper somewhere right here.
Yeah.
You did such a good job on it, you can barely see it.
It's an invisible zipper, and it's been shortened, so it's only needs to open about 5 inches or so.
Right, just to get that over.
We have a great tutorial on installing an invisible zipper. It's one of the best tutorials I think we've ever written. So if you need help on that, check out that tutorial.
Right. So,
but again, this is a garment that I think you do need to wear, whether it's in a sheer or not a sheer. You need to wear a little cami or t-shirt or a little something because of the sleeves and where that comes out of the waistline. You can see in there at times if you're moving in the right way. So I wear this garment with a little black, just cami tank thing.
Though you mentioned earlier about cruises and the beach,
yes.
Wouldn't this be great as if you just want to have a cover up on top? I think everybody kind of has their, you know, how they feel comfortable in a bathing suit. Right. You know, I want to have like a sarong or something like on the bottom half. Right. But some people, they would prefer to have more coverage on the top. So this would be great for that. And remember, Betsy made this into a dress. Right. When we featured this pattern quite a while ago. Right. When we brought it, or a year or so ago, whatever it was. Right. There was a Facebook Live last year where we talked about the Coco Blouse a couple times. Yeah. And we featured that dress and a couple other Coco blouses. Yep. But yeah, this is, again, another great pattern to use with all these sheer fabrics. Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about some techniques a little bit. Yes. So that you're not afraid of working with these fabrics. All right. Tell me where the best position is for that. There you go. See that? Yep. Okay. So here are a few things that we recommend using when you're working with these lightweight sheer fabrics. Since they're so, you know, they're fine fabrics, it's best to use a 65 millimeter needle. Right. Something reminded me yesterday. A young boy came in yesterday and I helped him learn how to use his machine. He was like 10, I think, or maybe younger, I'm not sure. But at any rate, the machine had an automatic threader, which I taught him how to use, but it reminded me that automatic threaders on sewing machines only like to thread size 80 needles. And if you are using anything less than an 80, a 75, a 70, or 65, or even a 60, you will break that feature on your sewing machine. You mentioned that on the Facebook Live. I was
Did
listening
I?
to this
Okay,
morning.
well, I forget it, and I wonder, and so I frankly have not used my automatic feeder on my expensive sewing machine in a long time, just for that very reason, because that's kind of an expensive fix.
So is it not only the needle size that's the issue, but also does it matter what type of thread? When we're talking about using specific thread on these fabrics, how does that make a
No, I
difference?
think it's the size of the needle,
needle
the
on
hole
side.
of the needle, and the little wire that goes into it is going to break.
Okay.
If it's trying to go into a hole that's really small.
Okay, okay.
I don't think thread matters.
Okay.
I don't think. Of course, not using it anymore, I'm not sure I know.
You don't want to test it.
Yeah, I don't want to test it. That's right. I had it break once, and that's all it took. It was a couple of $100s to fix it. So
Right.
okay. So
then
much
that-
for needles.
Goes into, so we tend to use 2-ply cotton thread on this fabric.
It says the word embroidery on the spool, which is always a little bit confusing. But I'm sure it is used for embroidery and things like heirloom sewing and all of that. But we use it for lightweight fabrics. And if you order any of these fabrics today or any of the shears ever, we're likely to put the 2-ply cotton thread in the package if you order thread.
Right, right. So we do have that great feature on our website where you can order, 1, 2, 3, or 4 spools of thread.
Right.
So all these fabrics will come with the 2-ply cotton thread.
Yep.
And then we also recommend using a single hole throat plate or a 5.5 millimeter opening on the thread plate.
And that's if you have a machine that also embroiders, because that's going to come with a 9 millimeter opening.
Is that pretty standard though on machines?
No, I think they're smaller if it doesn't embroider.
Okay, okay. Well,
But so
nowadays,
many machines now do both that you do have to pay attention to that.
Right. Or another trick Linda mentioned, if you don't have those options, is to use Scotch tape to cover up more of the opening, so you have a narrower opening.
Right, so the needle's just going through the same little pinhole all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and the fabric doesn't get sucked down into the throat plate and the opening. That is so frustrating.
Right, especially when you're starting this, the seam.
Right,
That
and when
tends
you're
to
starting the
happen.
seam, that's when you probably want to use some paper
Right.
underlayment, which I don't have in the right order there, but anyway.
Right, using paper, especially at the beginning of the seam, is a great idea. It really helps, it grabs it, helps just start it, keep it moving.
And just use some of the tissue from, if you're using tissue patterns. If not, just, I use medical exam paper, whatever lightweight paper I have around.
Right. Yeah. And you can also use, we talked about using a glue stick too, if you wanted to glue down the hem, for instance, right at the beginning, that also keeps it in place so you can start. And then once you're going, you're fine.
Right.
But it's to get it started, which can be really difficult. And then we also recommend a shorter stitch length. I know a lot of machines, they might start out at 2.5. So we recommend dialing it back and go to 2.4 millimeter. Mine actually starts at 2.4. That's the
Is that right?
default on my machine.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
Should I be going up for regular fabrics? Because I don't usually.
No, I sew with a 2.4 all the time.
Okay.
I know that some machines don't do that. They don't have those kinds of increments. You have a choice of either 2 or 2.5. 2 is a little bit too short. You're going to have to go with 2.5. But if you have a machine that will can change, do that. 2.3 is also fine. I think you just have to experiment. You have to test. I didn't write that word on that list there, but testing all of this before you ever tackle the project is really important.
Right, exactly. Because you're going to want to test to make sure you're using the right needle. We recommend a universal needle, but you might have to go to a microtext. I mean, I think having those different needles on hand is really helpful. Test out how to do a hem, before you choose which hem you want to use. Test out seams and steaming and just to see how you can get the best look. Test out the serging. And then once you figure that out, then you can start your project.
Yeah.
And then speaking of hems, so for these sheer fabrics, we recommend narrow hems, and a couple different ones that we recommend are, we have the double fold and we have the baby hem. And we have a really good tutorial called 5 narrow hem options. And it explains not only the double fold hem and the baby hem, but 3 other hems. The zigzag technique, I'm trying to think of what the other ones were. a piping. There's one that has to do with a piping. I just looked at it, but there's 5 different techniques for narrow hems. And that's what these are the main ones that we use. These are going to be the most common and the ones that we recommend the most, especially for these fabrics.
Both of them have one common feature. Did you say that?
Stitching. No, the stay stitching?
Right.
Right, so both of them use stay stitching. It really helps with accuracy and stability with your hem. So the double fold hem, you're going to stay stitch, say you have a 1/2 inch hem. You're going to stay stitch at 1/2 inch, and then you're going to use that stitching to press up the hem, and then you're going to then press up again, and then edge stitch finish. And you're going to want to use things like your edge stitch foot, if you have that available. That's really great to use for both, actually, both hems. And then for the baby hem, we have a great technique in that tutorial that talks about where you stay stitch like 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edge, and then you press along, correct me if I'm wrong, press along the 1/8 of an inch.
Well, actually, it's difficult to stitch at an 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So normally, let's say you have a 3/4 inch hem or an inch hem or something, you stitch on the finished hem line.
On the finished hem fold, that's right.
So you have a little more to press up along that stay stitching line. Then you use that to hold the fabric so that you can trim it down to an 1/8 of an inch.
Right, that's right. That's right. So using this is a burden and clamp. And so you use this to basically as your third hand. So you can attach this to your fabric, and then then your hands are free to trim close to the your stitching to get it a lot narrower. So you can we recommend using these K. Buckley scissors, or we also have these great long shears. These are really nice to use as well for the trimming.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been using longer shears and scissors to trim instead of the short trimming scissors, as they're called, because they make too much of a choppy line of cutting line.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the key is if they're sharp. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Right. In fact, these Buckley scissors, I think they have a little bit of a serrated edge, and so they really grab the fabric.
Right, they do. They do have just a tiny little bit.
Just a
You can
little
see it
bit.
in the light.
Those have become my favorite scissors.
Yeah, I find these to be a little easier for me to be accurate
Right.
when I trim. I think these work really well.
And then we talked about pins this morning.
Yes, we did. So we have a couple different pin options. We have our glass head silk pins here, but then we also have fine quilting pins. We sell both of these. I think you could use either one of these for these projects with these gauzy fabrics. I think these are great and just sharp, and they can really get into the fabric without having to lift up the fabric as you're cutting out or as you're working with the fabrics. These longer quilting pins are really nice as well. I think they're really flexible, and so it's I've found that they've been even easier to get into the fabric and not lift it up. But then Linda was also pointing out that it's really nice when you might be having trouble with your hands. Since they're longer, they're a lot easier to work with.
Yeah, the more arthritic my hands get, the easier it is for me to use those pins. I can pick them up just a little bit easier, and I don't have to work as hard to get them through the fabric. So I really do like them. I don't know, for some reason I'm having more trouble these days picking up pins. Really annoys me, I can tell you that. All right. Well, those are some techniques.
Yeah.
We've had some questions that maybe we should answer now.
Okay.
Because I'm getting lost in this just a little bit. I'm sorry.
That happens. It's easy.
So, back to the Crossroads. Would we do that in a linen knit? Make the Crossroads in a linen knit?
I think you could.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so. Yeah.
I think the shorter version.
Crossroads.
With a linen knit, I would not attempt a baby hem, though. You're going to want to do a wider hem. That linen knit is really hard to sew and hard to make look good. So you're going to need a walking foot, some stabilizer, make some practice hems because it has a tendency to really buckle and not look good when you hem it, and you're going to want to use some Fusey web for sure.
Right. Yeah, I think some of the most successful garments we had out of linen knit did have a wider hem.
Right.
We've made the 3-fold vest. We've made Anne's cardigans. We've made a lot of garments out of linen knit.
So what pattern would we use to make a cami for the Coco?
Well, we have a couple different tank tops. We have the Mix-It tank. I think that would be the most slimming tank that we have.
Actually, is that what's under the Ikina?
It is. So this is the Mix-It tank. The Mix-It has a shirt, a top, and a tank. And I think because of the length of this tank, and then also because it's a little bit more fitted, I think this would be a good choice underneath the Coco. We also have an Anne's tank, which is a great knit pattern. I think it does have it's very A-line at the side seams, and so I think maybe if you trimmed it down and made it a little bit more form-fitting at the hips, it would be perfect. But it's very flattering. It's a great flattering tank for a knit. Actually, I'm gonna
How does the Coco differ from the wonton?
that is the same pattern.
It's absolutely the same pattern. It was Betsy's idea to change the name, just to be, I don't know, a little more
Politically
correct, perhaps. That's really the only reason, and so it is absolutely the same. So if you have the old wonton pattern, you have the very same pattern.
Yes, yes. So this is the Coco and the wonton.
Yeah. What number corresponds on needle sizes for 65 millimeter? Let's see, if an 80 is a 12, a 75 is an 11, a 70 is a 10, a 65 would be a 9.
Okay.
All right, 65/9.
And I think that if you were to Google that, you would probably be able to figure out the conversion.
Right.
Just to make sure you're getting the right needle size.
Someone doesn't have any trouble with her needle threader until she goes to a size 60.
Oh, okay.
All right, maybe it depends a little bit on your brand or how aggressive you are.
I do like to manually thread.
I
Even
do
a
too, for some
serger, I
reason.
like to manually thread. I mean, if I've been trying to thread a serger for 20 minutes, I might get sick of it, but.
Yeah. So Laura uses wrapping tissue paper for her stabilizer paper, which is a good idea.
Oh, that's perfect. That's probably something everybody has on hand as well.
Exactly. Okay, baby hem we talked about. What type of needle would you use? What type? This is a little bit off topic, but what type of needle would you suggest for the leatherette fabric you have in your shop? I would probably start with a universal needle on any sort of leatherette or ultra suede or whatever. But then if I can get any skip stitches, then I'll start experimenting and use maybe a leather needle, although leather needles tend to come pretty large and it's probably too big. I would just, have every kind of needle manufactured in my little stash, and so you start changing until you find the one that works.
Right. Maybe try microtext if it's not.
Right. With the narrow hems, do they work with mitered corners? Yes, you can make a baby hem, or not a baby hem, but a double fold hem or a handkerchief hem. You can miter that really easily. We have a mitering book, and we have tutorials on that. What happens when the stay stitching causes puckering? Try sewing over paper.
Okay.
Try changing the tension on either your bobbin case or your presser foot pressure. That is a problem, and I would maybe shorten your stitch a little more. And that's about all you can try, I think.
Right, and again, experiment before you start your project and see what it looks like, what the stay stitching looks like on a single layer of fabric.
Duckbill scissors for trimming. Do you use? I used to. That's what I used to use all the time.
And that's what's in the tutorial.
And that is, and I have moved on from that. I think that those are hard to work with, and these other shears are better. All right. Do you have any tips for cutting out the pattern with these slippery fabrics?
I think we always do single layer.
Always do single layer.
When we cut out single layer for most things.
Exactly. If you're really having trouble, if you have a surface on your cutting table that doesn't have much of a grip, my cutting board is so old that it's kind of rough. And so it grabs the fabric. So I don't have any trouble laying it out, getting it all lined up, straight to grain, both ends. But if you're still having trouble, lay out your fabric on top of paper. This exam paper has a rough side and a smooth side, and you can put it on paper and staple the selvages to the paper, and then when you're cutting out the fabric, you're cutting out both the fabric and the paper. Works great. That's what they do in the industry.
I know sometimes I've taped, the selvage to the lines on my cutting mat just to make sure it stays in place if I'm having trouble with it moving. Using pattern weights on your pattern pieces to keep them in place as you're cutting out. Using the pins that we suggested, but sometimes you have to just use pattern weights. That way you're not picking up the fabric at all when you're laying out.
How much fabric is included in the Ikina kit? I'm not sure. Maybe Betsy can look and post that.
All right, maybe she can link to the kits, but it would say on our website, on the kit product, how much yardage is included. But it's enough for, all of our kits are enough for all the sizes, unless it's indicated. But so it's gonna range from extra small to extra, extra large.
All right, I can't see.
Betsy said if I had lag time, I was supposed to do a song and dance, but
I see.
I don't think I'm prepared to do that today. Sorry, Betsy.
The Ann's, can't find the Ann's tank pattern. It is part of the Ann's jacket.
Right, the Ann's tank is included in the Ann's cardigan pattern,
yes.
so you get both of the patterns in that.
Can we talk about the stabilizing paper technique a little bit? You just simply tear off a scrap of fabric, of paper, and you put it between the throat plates and the fabric, and you're stitching through the fabric, which is on top, and the paper below it, and then the paper tears away when you're done. So that's why you want something pretty lightweight.
Yeah, you don't need much. Usually it's just to start the hem or the seam that you're working on.
Here's someone who used single-ply cheap toilet paper. That's interesting.
Oh, interesting.
All right.
Does that I would think the fibers would come off onto your fabric, but I guess if it's cheap toilet paper, there's not a lot of
There's lots of tips here for stabilizers and all of that. Okay.
Well, that's good.
So let's look at some fabrics.
Okay. So, I love this selection of fabrics here. So we have a lot of different, am I on the screen? Okay.
You are.
All right. Okay, so we have a great selection of different florals, mainly all florals, a few kind of checks and plaids, paisleys, birds mixed in, a little animal print. But this one, I love. This is like a crinkle viscose. So this is 100% viscose. And so this has a great texture to it.
It does have a little bit of a crinkle, doesn't it?
It does. It does have a little bit of a crinkle to it. This would be, I can really see this in the Coco. I think that would be fantastic, especially with the small floral print. These are so lightweight, I might as well bring them down so you can really see them.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
Ooh, this pink looks great with the top I have on.
I know.
Look at that.
Your pink t-shirt, by the way, is the Noto tee.
It is. That's true.
But yeah, that looks good under that. And you know what? You have to play around with what you are going to wear under these fabrics because it changes the character of them. Right. You could go light like she's doing over the pink, or you could place it over navy and even darken it more. Or you could sometimes use some really off color that's unimaginable, and it turns it into something really wonderful. So you can try anything.
And this is, it does have the navy background. I'm not sure how our colors are doing today, but navy background with yellow.
This looks pretty darn true. True to color.
True to color. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Great to hear.
We're still working on our lighting, so.
So that is fantastic. And this one below it, I'd say this is more of a lawn?
Lawn, I would say so.
A lawn.
Lawn, batiste weight, but it does have some sheer properties to it. You can see your hand through it, or at least I can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this
But
is
it's a little
cotton
easier to sew because it's not quite as wispy, but boy, that'd be a really pretty Crossroads.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. It's a
Yeah.
cotton silk gauze, so it's 70% cotton and 30% silk.
Yeah.
It's made
But
in
don't be afraid of the
Italy.
silk. It's just add a luster to it. It's not making it unruly to work with. It just makes a beautiful finish.
Right. This I think wouldn't be too bad at all to work with. But yes, I think that's fantastic. I really like that. And then, so the one below it, we have this brilliant kind of chartreuse green and blue on a black background. Had to check it against the navy there. And this is a viscose.
This is a fantastic print.
I love the large.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. I think this would, what if you did a Crossroads, but you made the panels all one,
Right.
but kept the long length?
Right.
Wouldn't that be great? Or the Ikina Two?
It'd make a great Ikina Two as well. And just simply wear it with black. And you've got a statement piece right there because of the fabric.
Right. I think that would be fantastic. It's such a large print. I think you really would want to show it off.
Yeah. Back to the navy sheer with the flowers. There's a question of would you press the crinkles before? This is not a crinkle that's going to be more crinkled or less crinkled. It's not like, it's just a little bit of a texture. That crinkle above is not going to press out, do you think?
No, and you wouldn't want it to. You
Yeah.
could lightly steam it
Yeah.
as you're working with it. And one thing I want to point out is we do have a limited quantity of a lot of these fabrics.
Right.
And even some of them are in cuts that we have out here. So keep that in mind when you're ordering. So this next one, I love this. So this is a cotton and silk pink plaid. I think this is just a great combination, another pink.
Yeah. That could make a total garment. That would make a really fantastic summer Coco or Crossroads or just pieces and parts of something. You know, you could combine it with just pure white or soft blue, and it could be cuffs, collar, band, pocket. It doesn't have to be an entire garment.
I can imagine a little dress. I can imagine Betsy in one of her little dresses.
Yeah.
This fabric.
Yep.
You know, you could pair
We've
it
had a
with
question
floral.
about what is viscose, and viscose is rayon. It's
Yes.
viscose is a method of making rayon that's produced in Europe, and so it's a nice quality of rayon.
Look at these two together.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
I love that.
Well, it even goes with that one up there.
Right.
Yes, there you go. Oh yeah, that's fun.
Combine them all together.
Yeah, exactly. All right, here's I love this one. Whoops.
Trying to bring these all down for you guys so you can
Yeah.
really see them.
Yeah, they like bringing them
just
close.
Gorgeous. So I know you guys want to see that. So look at I love this large floral. Again, this brilliant pink and green and orange and violet.
Yeah.
I think this is fantastic. I think I would lengthen the Ikina Two to an ankle length duster. I think that would be fantastic. I can really imagine that on a tropical beach, which is where I would love to be right now instead of in the cold, snowy Kansas.
Yeah,
That'd be fantastic.
That's one of those finds. You know, you don't see those very often.
Right. What would you make out of this one, Linda?
I'd make
What are
the
you
Ikina
imagining?
Two. I'd make a swingy, beautiful jacket. Wear it to a wedding.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
While you have your hands on that plaid, someone's asking about the colors. It's pink and blue and white.
And there's two different blues. You can see. Kind of a bubblegum pink.
Yeah, bubblegum pink.
All right, so this bottom one here, this one is a viscose crepe. Trying to I'm failing. I'm trying to elegantly bring these down off the wall to show you, and they just keep falling. Well, yeah, that's all right. It's worth it. So I think this is just, again, long Ikina. I think.
Yeah, and this has one pattern that you see quite evident, the red and pink, but then there's a whole other print that's printed on that's more subtle.
Right, exactly. So here's the more subtle print, like in this area there, like a black floral with like a rich wine color in the background. And then it has the bold flowers on top. That's amazing.
What if somebody is short and really doesn't think they can wear large patterns? What would you do? I would make something like the Crossroads and use it as a section. Or one thing we don't have here in the studio, but we had last year for So Confident, we used the Eureka top and cut it into blocks.
Right.
And you could combine a lot of these fabrics all in one. And so you can cut up a pattern and into smaller bits and use it.
Right.
If you're afraid of the large pattern.
And I think a lot of these, there's a big range between, like, we have some that are the smaller florals, and then it gets just a little bit bigger, like these two here, and then the one that, of course, is on the floor is, I'd say, a larger print.
I do think because they're sheer, they're not, and they're drapey, you can really wear these larger scaled pieces better than you could wear that if that were in cotton, for example.
Right, because the pattern isn't going to show up as much because it's going to be flowing.
It's going to be when you take your hand and kind of, can you take your hand and, do that? See, that's, then the pattern gets completely disguised.
So it's more about color, it's more about seeing all the beautiful colors.
Or make a scarf.
About the print, right? So that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd make a gorgeous scarf.
I know the thing, I like scarves that have a lot of different colors in them, and that way you can really bring it into most of what you wear. And so this would be a great option because you could pull in a lot of different colors.
Right. We have the Scarves to Make book that you could get some good ideas.
Well, and speaking of scarves, we used to have this fabric in a scarf kit.
That's right.
So this is an animal print. It's silk. It's a crinkle silk. Animal print. Would this be cheetah?
Yep.
A small cheetah print. This is definitely one I think I would use in small, in a small portion of the Crossroads. Maybe it's the under collar. I think this is great. It's kind of like a stripe that you would keep on hand, and you could throw it in a lot of different garments.
Exactly. It could be the tank.
Right.
The cami, the whatever under something. But yeah,
but I would
just
use
trimmings or small pieces. Just have a yard of it on hand, and I think you'd use it a lot.
Right, exactly. This would be great for a scarf too.
Yeah, it would.
Like we used for the kits.
Goes really well with the one underneath it.
Does. Let's see. This is a bird print. What are these? Toucans? I don't know. I'm not good on my birds. Let's see. Toucan. So silk and cotton. So 70% silk and 70% cotton, 30% silk. So this is just a beautiful,
really unique print. You don't see prints like this very often.
Mustard and black and white and a dusty pink background.
Yeah, on the camera it's looking pretty orange, but it's really much more pink.
Does it change depending on where I stand? But it is a beautiful pink. This is very soft, but I like the contrast of the yellow, the mustard yellow with it. I think that's great. And it does look good with the animal print.
Yeah.
But this is another cotton lawn. I'd call it a lawn. But very soft. A little bit sheer, but not too much. I think this would be another one that would be fairly easy to work with.
Right. There's been a question about how much yardage would someone need to make a large floral scarf. If you're wanting to me, the scarf should be at least 60 inches long, if not 72. So you're going to want to get 2 yards. And you may or may not have waist depending on how wide you want the scarf. But even a narrow scarf can be wider in a sheer like this.
Right, because I would think you'd want it pretty wide because of the sheerness of it.
Right.
I like really large, long, wide scarves.
Right.
So, and then you could use the rest of it in your Crossroads.
Exactly. Or for your tank.
So this is a beautiful viscous crepe. I think of this.
This is not particularly sheer, but it's such an unusual colorway for us to be able to get our hands on. We don't find very many earth tone florals. They're usually more vibrant in their colors. So when I saw this, I thought it was really interesting. The background of this looks golden on the camera, but it's very beige.
Right, it's a beautiful taupe, kind of a soft, and then it's really the gray in it. I think is also unique. I think it's to have gray and soft oranges and taupe and all these kind of more neutral colors all together is really nice. I think usually you have like maybe a warm or a cool colorway, but this has both, which I think is really nice. Yeah. It would make a great Ikina too. I'd say it's a similar weight to the jacket that I have on.
I agree.
So I think that would be great. All right. Oh, I love this next one. Let's see if I can get this back on here. All right. This is one I think would be another one kind of like, you know, stripes and animal prints to have on hand to mix with other things. I was mixing this for a couple customers a couple weeks ago. And it has beautiful, actually has some soft blues in here, gray, black, a little punch of like a brick red.
See, I'm seeing a lot of neutrals this spring. Jackets, shirts, pants, all tonal. So this could be that accent piece, a scarf, a tank, but it could also be pants and just wear it with simple cream top or shirt. And I think this fits right into what's going on in fashion right now. It's like strata of the earth. It's beautiful. You don't see these kinds of motifs very often. This is very etro, in my opinion. Kathy Davis walked in here and immediately pointed to it and said, "That's mine.
I need some of that."
Yeah.
I think you could pair it with a lot of different colors and a lot of different silhouettes depending on what you make. So I think it could become that neutral pant or that neutral dress. Instead of the little black dress, you know, make something in a print like that. So here is a vibrant paisley. What is this one? Silk, 100% silk.
Yes, is it a charmeuse?
Yes.
Yes, charmeuse. It's shiny on one side and more matte on the other. And I'm crazy about this fabric.
Oh, that just feels amazing. Yeah. A tank.
That would be fantastic, Coco.
Right. I think that'd be also a great little tank top, or mix it with some of these other, you know, you really did pick out
people
some
are
great
talking
colors.
about in the questionings that all of the fabrics on the left-hand side would go together in a great pieced garment. All the ones on the right-hand side would go together in a great pieced garment. I think that's true.
I think you could pull this over, though. I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The pinks.
Yeah.
Look really good together. That have the same kind of bubblegum pink, like that's just really sharp. You know, I love mixing, you know, a paisley or a floral print with something.
Take that up a little bit.
More structured.
There you go.
So pairing it with the plaid and the paisley together, I think would be fantastic. It's good to have that a little bit of contrast, I think, in your prints.
What was the fiber content of that neutral stripe?
Let's see. The neutral stripe is 100% viscous.
Viscous, 100% viscous.
Yeah, viscous challis.
Yeah.
And then we have a few more fabrics here in the center. These are, let's go with this one first. Not a lot of yardage, but oh, I love this piece. I can't believe this is still here.
I know.
That's fantastic. Just a black and cream and kind of a taupey gray and gold print. I think that's just, this is another one I think you keep on hand to mix and match with things. I think this would be a great thing to throw in on your scarves or your different paneled garments. This is a silk, 100% silk. And it's a georgette.
Now here's a little something that somebody's going to want to ask. So you get a fabric that you spent a good amount of money for, and we only buy quality fabrics here, but things are not always printed on the straight of grain. Doesn't matter the price.
True, true.
And this may be an example. So what do you go for when you're making a garment? Do you go for the straight of grain or do you follow the motif?
You got to go for the motif.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're not going to look like you're straight
Exactly.
grain.
That's a common question I get via email. Yeah, you can be a little bit off grain to save the pattern.
Right, because you will definitely notice when your hem is, the print of your, near your hem is not lined up.
Exactly.
So here is a great, this is another, we talked about burnouts earlier. And this is another silk and rayon, Devereux or burnout. And this beautiful gold, black. Woo, I just love this. So you can see, hopefully, if I can see where it's,
Yeah, we
a
can
little
see
bit
through it and
see-through.
see your pink shirt.
That probably looks, maybe is not quite the
Actually,
right
it's
color
okay.
combination.
That's kind of a good example of how it totally changes what it looks like. Yeah.
But I think that's fantastic. And then, what's this last one we have here? Another scarf print that we used in our scarf kits. Crinkled georgette print. It's viscose and silk. And we've got another animal print, literally with the animals.
Yeah.
Let's see, leopard. There we go. A crinkled fabric. I think I said that, but it's a crinkled, very soft, sheer. I think I would do like just a small portion of a garment with this one because the print is so regular, or a scarf. Or the undercollar, or just kind of a portion of a garment, or a tank. I think you can have a more regular print when you have a tank.
Someone is asking if the silk paisley works with the sheer animal print. I don't think so.
Here? So the paisley and the animal
Do you like those together? Maybe when you get them together, it's better than I think.
It's a strong animal
I
print.
don't know.
There's an
The
orange.
color is there. I think you could use it in a very small portion. Some binding, piping, that sort of thing, but not as a major piece. There's just something not... The color of the sheer is too strong, I think, generally, for the softness of the paisley. That would be my opinion. I've been proven wrong so many times by what goes with what, but...
What about these two? Is that...
Yeah, that's beautiful together.
Show that off a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
I think I would go for like other animal prints, or really concentrate on the contrast.
And then put that with the black animal.
Well, you can see that. But.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. All right.
All right. Any other
well, I think,
questions?
I think the questions are, put the leopards with the yellow and black floral on the left.
This leopard, yellow and black. This one?
Yeah, I think so. That works. It depends on what you do with it. I don't love it. It's okay. It does work. It just depends on how you use it, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love it myself.
Yeah,
but
we don't love it.
I would
That
put
looks
it
good.
more with this
Yeah, and that looks good
fabric
with the
here,
toucans too.
and I would even go here.
Yeah, that looks good.
It's
That looks
got
great.
a little pop of red in the mouth.
His tongue.
A little pop of red,
Yeah.
and I think picks up the great colors here in this floral print. This, the orange and the red, the brick red, and it picks up the red in the other print as well. I think that's fun.
Yeah. So if you're wearing a tank under the Coco, the Mix-It tank, is it going to show in the V?
Yes, it would.
I think it will, and I think it would be fine. So obviously you want to wear the right one with it.
Right, right. I think you would have to go with, if you didn't want it, if you wanted to show off the V,
Yeah.
then you'd
You
have
could
to
scoop
wear,
the neck out if you didn't like that look.
Right. Or we have a couple different tutorials that teach you how to do a V-neck.
Right.
It's a swing dress tutorial, and it's from 2020? Is that the So Confident year? We did a V-neck a couple times that year, and so you could create a V-neck in a traditional, crew neck or scoop neck tank pattern.
Yeah. All right. I think we've gone through most of the questions in sort of a different way this time, which was sort of nice. So let's show them the Crane Street.
I did forget to do that.
And
yes.
then tell them what's on sale, and we're good to go.
Okay. Find a little. Okay, so this month for So Confident 2022, we're featuring the Crane Street. It's a new pattern that we just came up with last week, and it has there's the front of the Crane Street, and then I just love this back. Has this blouson. It's just a fancy word that Linda uses. It's just really a very nice sweep in the back. That's how I'm going to say it. It's 3 panels in the back. We're putting a rib knit in the center panel for a lot of the kits. And then it has a short sleeve, but one thing we're going to feature in April is a long sleeve. So that's one thing we're going to teach you how to do. And so this shows you what the long sleeve looks like. And so, so the class came out on Friday. The video came out on Friday, and we still have kits available if anybody's interested in kits. This is the sage green kit. You do have enough if you want to make a long sleeve in the yardage that you receive in the kits. So you're fine on that if you decide to do that, and then we'll teach you how to do that in April. So stay tuned.
All right.
All right. Well, I think we're done.
So we've got fabrics on sale at...
Fabrics, yes, are on sale with 20% off of all the fabrics that we've shown. And the patterns, I'm going to review the patterns that are on sale. So we have the Crossroads, the Coco Blouse, the Panel Pants, the Madrid Top and Pants, and the Ikina 2. Those are all digital patterns except the Madrid. Madrid is a printed pattern, but the rest of them are digital. And then we also have 2 tutorials that are on sale. So we have the 5 narrow hem options, and then series 10, oh, that's right. So we do have a couple, we've talked about a couple tutorials here on this. Some of them are on sale, some of them aren't, so sorry about that. But 5 narrow hem options, that is on sale for you this week. And
But we want you to check out the Series 10 January Panel Pants.
there you go.
Tutorial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check out the Panel Pants Series 10.
Well, and they might as well check out the
tutorial.
Ikina 2 one as well.
Right. Yeah, we have some really great tutorials that we did last year.
Yeah.
Each month featured a different pattern, and so we had the Ikina 2, the Panel Pants.
And we don't put those on sale for a while, for
Right.
a long while, actually, because we try to protect the pricing for our So Confident members.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But they're great videos to watch, so check those out. And then also we do still have some of the Haiku 2, or Haiku 2. I'll take you back. Ikina 2.
Ooh, that goes back, yes, absolutely.
Kits on sale. So,
All right. Well, Erin, you did a great job. This was pretty fun. So thanks
Thank
for
you.
covering for me today. And
No problem. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week we have Linda and Alex next
yeah, I
week.
think we have Alex back next week.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting. So thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.